Welcome back, listeners, to the Hero Whisperers. You are here with your host, Chief Supergirl Jeannie Marie. And tonight we have a super cool chick, Sage Lally, a soon-to-be very famous photographer, with us, joining us on the show. But before we let you talk to her and let you hear her amazingness, I want to tell you a little bit about Supergirls in case you're new to the show or the podcast and haven't really heard about us and know what we do. I created Supergirls as a platform to inspire and empower college women to launch from college to life, meaning helping them with tools they need to navigate the real world, like networking skills, career clarity, financial management, mentorship, whatever it is they need to help them have a softer landing, because college is amazing and the real world sometimes can be really scary and difficult when you first get out. So let's help them transition. Let's help our baby sisters. That was my vision. And on the podcast, we talk to these women, either women that are still in school or women that have recently graduated or other women that have amazing inspiration to offer these young women as they try to find their way, and we get to hear their stories and hear their voices. And so I love it. I love hearing these future leaders of the world on my show. So with that being said, I do want to give a shout out about my group coaching program that's going to be live online, launching in February for juniors and seniors that are maybe looking for a little extra love. It's called How to Find Your Dream Job in 6 Weeks. And stay tuned. Check out the site, supergirls.com, for more info on that. Okay, enough about me. Let's talk about Sage. First of all, what an awesome name. Sage Lally. I love her name.
Sage. My parents are
Sage,
big
welcome
hippies.
to the show. They're so
Thank
cool.
you. It's
Come
so
on.
good to be here.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to just read your bio real quick. Sage is a New York City-based multi-dimensional visual storyteller who aims to build platforms for underrepresented people and places. She currently works as the creative brand and partnership associate for Maysad Choice, a women's development agency based in New York City. Previously, she has interned with photographers Annie Leibovitz and Jordan Matter and has served as photo editor for NYU's newspaper, Washington Square News, and NYU Fashion, girl after my own heart. Sage has a BFA in photography from NYU Tisch School of the Arts. Oh my God, she is a force to be reckoned with. I'm so glad you decided to use us tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. So first of all, your first gig out of college, right? I mean, you just recently graduated from NYU, right?
Yes, I graduated in spring of 2019.
And listeners, you guys probably all know this, but NYU Tisch is nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, it's really, really hard to get into. And I want to hear about that, actually, Sage. Like, how did you make that happen? Because I think the acceptance rate is like 1% or some crazy thing like that.
Yeah, it's different for the different programs, but it can be really difficult. For the film program, it's, the second best in the country, so it's really competitive. For photography, it's a really small program, so it's a lot more selective. There's about, 20 to 30 people in every class. So, yeah, I have no idea how I made that happen. I'm still surprised that I made it into the school. NYU has always been my dream school. I originally thought I was going to go to college for medicine. And then when I was a junior in high school, that door kind of got slammed in my face because I was diagnosed with a math learning disability. And so I was like, this is not
Oh my
work.
God.
I gotta switch my focus. And I was simultaneously taking these intensive photography classes as my elective at high school. So my teacher there was like, you really got to pursue this. Like, you have, a real potential here. So I really quickly changed my focus in the fall of my senior year. and toured a bunch of schools. NYU was still my top choice. What's actually really cool about Tisch is that, you know, even if your grades aren't incredible, which mine were fine, but, you know, I probably couldn't have gotten into Stern with my grades and scores. But Tisch actually decides separately from admissions. So Tisch can actually make a case and be like, you know, you need to admit this girl. So I think that's probably how I got into school, is that Tisch said, no, this girl is worth admitting, despite her lack in math and science. So yeah, that's how I think I got in.
Wow. I mean, yeah, but you must be, yeah, I mean, you're super talented with the gift of taking pictures and how you look at pictures. And it's always been, I'm kind of really super fascinated by people that can take amazing pictures, because to me, it's like, I just take a picture, you know, I take a picture of what I want to take a picture of, and I don't think about it a certain way. Like when you take pictures, like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you think about it differently that it comes out to be a work of art versus just a picture on my iPhone? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
I know you can't answer that in like two. I know you
no, sure.
It'd take a lot longer than 20 minutes to answer that question.
Yeah. No, it's almost like asking someone, you know, how they brush their teeth. It takes you a second. You're like, I just brush my teeth. But like everyone has a unique way of brushing their teeth. So at the end of the day, it's like one of those things that's so natural to me that it's hard to explain. So that's why I probably wouldn't be a good photography teacher. But at the end of the day, like, I really feel like it's just the way that my eye has been continually trained and refined in school, as well as just developing my own style and looking at other photographers. That's a great way to improve your photography, is just get really inspired by some, you know, really incredible photographers of our time. I'm a huge fan of Sally Mann. That's one of my biggest inspirations. Obviously, Annie Leibovitz is one of my big ones too. I love Ansel Adams for landscape. So you just got to dive into photographic history and get inspired and notice patterns and themes and apply them to your own photos.
Wow.
Yeah.
You make it sound so easy, but it's so not. For real.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that mean when you say, I love that. I love how you describe yourself as a visual storyteller. What does that mean to you?
Sure. So it's almost as if, like, I want every image I take to convey a story or a collective body of images I create to tell a story. So, you know, it's kind of the more eloquent and artistic way of calling myself a photojournalist. But when I think photojournalism, I think more related to, you know, specific news stories or related to, you know, different topics that would make it into the New York Times or Time, whether that be, you know, news or politics, that type of thing. Whereas visual storytelling, I feel like, dives into, you know, a more broad topic. So it could be related to, you know, defining a brand story and visually communicating that. It could be creating a short film that tells someone's story, or creating a series of portraits with captions. So it really just is a way to visually communicate stories to people. It's as if you took a book and put it into pictures.
I mean, so it sounds like that's what you're doing with your vision of building platforms for underrepresented people and places.
Yeah.
What is some of that work that you're doing?
Yeah, so my thesis was my last big project, and I did a short film about my grandma's childhood trauma. And so that film basically chronicled the 8 children that my grandma had, one of them being my dad, and talked about how trauma can be passed through generations. So exploring the idea of intergenerational trauma, as well as, you know, really describing her life from different perspectives. So that was my last big project. Another one that I did that I really liked during school was I had a project inspired by Andy Warhol. He used to do these screen tests, which are almost like moving portraits. There's no talking in them. So I put couples in bed with each other, and I didn't allow them to talk for 30 minutes, and I left the room and I filmed them. And I did a study on nonverbal communication. So those are two of my favorite projects that I've worked on.
That is so interesting. And your grandmother must have been so touched by that you did a whole film about her.
Yeah. Well, actually, what the cool thing was is that my grandma passed away when I was 6. So this was actually kind of a discovery. No, it's no worries. But it was kind of a discovery of, learning more about her and getting to really tell her life through other people's perspectives. So it's kind of, making a documentary about someone without having them in the documentary or without, having their input. So that was what was really cool and interesting about it.
It is. So both of these projects and these things that you did in your thesis and this work are around film. So is that kind of how you see your career, your artistic creative career going towards film?
Yeah, I love to take photos. But if money wasn't a factor in my career path at all, I think I would probably be an independent documentary filmmaker. I just really love making documentaries. I love telling people's stories. I love making, films about issues that are not really talked about. So yeah, I love, just all types of media. I don't know if I've ever tried something creative that I haven't liked. I've certainly tried things creative that I'm not good at, especially pottery, but I'm open to any creative thing. So photography, video, however the story is best told, I'm open to it.
I mean, that person that was a huge blessing that you didn't go into medicine. Not saying that you wouldn't have been a fantastic doctor, but look at this.
Oh, I would have been a horrible doctor if I can't do math and science. I'm glad I didn't do it.
Ooh. I mean, but isn't that crazy though? Like I thought I wanted to be a doctor too, because I always did well in school and I loved people. But then when right after I took biology and chemistry, I was like, there's no way I'm doing this for like at the college level. Not happening.
Right? Yeah. So we both escaped that future.
Best. We escaped it. But I love the idea of being a documentary filmmaker. I mean, that is so inspirational. And it's like, who are these people that do this? And how do they sustain, their lifestyle? I mean, they get people to produce, right? They just inspire certain people to just produce the films. So
I'm assuming, it's outside funding. But, well, I'll find out one day, maybe.
Well, let's talk about where you are now, because, I mean, for your first gig out of college, I think it's super cool and inspiring that you're working with these guys.
Sure. I love my job. I work for a women's development agency called Mayshad. I do creative marketing and sales and partnerships for them. So what Mayshad is that they're basically, a women's networking app and events and network. Basically, they're there to help women accelerate their growth process professionally. So, we just believe that, women's empowerment is not like limited to just networking. It can be, our connection on a human level. So we just try to really connect with women and see what their needs are and just really, promote them and accelerate them into the next stage of their life. So we have, a really big network of around 10,000 women. Our tech platform's about to launch in a couple weeks, which is going to be really exciting. So it's a